as again, talking about tourism, we had earlier the CEO of Riyadh Air, Tony Douglas, and now we want to go a little bit deeper into the tourism industry and what's happening actually in our region. So I want to take the opportunity to have this conversation with you guys and take a step back. And I want to go back to COVID, right? So COVID changed our entire industry. And since then, as also professional in that field, we heard some definition and some words that came basically to our industry. We used to talk about accommodation. Now we are talking about destination. So I want to basically ask you to introduce you first, Hala, and then to answer my question. What's the difference?
Sure. Thank you, and a real pleasure being here. Oftentimes there is a misconception around COVID changing. I think it's just accelerated the changes, especially as we talk about the hospitality industry. So quickly on myself, I've been with HBS for 20 years. It's an international firm. I'm overseeing our business in Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. And I'm super excited. And if I can just quickly just share my passion, because we've heard across this morning the word transformation and what is happening. When I talk about the region, it's not just Saudi Arabia, but the region being the GCC. And having worked across so many markets, including Europe, Asia, and now the Middle East in the last 17 years, advising on more than 5,000 hospitality or hotel accommodation projects. I mean, what we've realized is definitely that, A, there's a huge potential, and perhaps in this part of the world, there's a benefit of actually creating those destinations. So to answer your question specifically between the difference between accommodation and destination, I think traditionally, and the disruptors that happened even prior to COVID, right? So the Airbnb concept, the holiday home, the rentals, this is all accommodation. And there isn't a shortage in accommodation, but the real experience when we talk about tourism and travel and hospitality is what is it that we are looking to create? And I know we're gonna delve into this with the other panelists, so I'm gonna keep this brief. But a destination, and especially in a competitive environment, because today we are in an extremely competitive environment, whether with Europe or other countries in the GCC, it is about defining the destination and more so defining the experience. What is the story that we are telling and how are we bringing it together? I mean, real quickly, there are certain developments at the moment that have the accommodation and have the hotels, but don't have the accessibility, right? So it is beyond just accommodation. It is how do we think of the entire framework and enablers for a destination.
So you are basically touching point on the customer experience, right? So I want to go a little bit deeper in the topic. So I want actually to ask the question to Abdulaziz, who come all the way from Abu Dhabi, my beloved city, and he's the director of strategy. You will introduce yourself as well in Miral. So after you introduce yourself, I want basically to go into what Miral is doing today with that entire experience of Yas Island, Saadiyat Island in Abu Dhabi, and what is what we call, you are talking about immersive experience and iconic destination. What is it?
So, assalamu alaikum. Abdulaziz Khoori from Miral. Just a bit about me. I've been in the company for almost 2 years now. Joined the company in January 2022. Before that, I was 10 years working in one of the largest real estate developers, in the region, and almost 4 years in the financial services, working at Abu Dhabi's International Finance Center, which is Abu Dhabi Global Market. I think just to explain a bit about Miral. So Miral, what we do is we develop, we manage, we operate what we call exactly immersive experiences and iconic destinations. We use these terminologies differently because the experiences are individual assets. So Ferrari World is an experience, Yas Water World is an experience, Yas Bay is an experience. Yas Marina is an experience. We're also developing, which Taghreed, my colleague, I think she also mentioned this earlier today in her panel. But we're also constructing, as we speak, Team Lab Phenomena in Saadiyat Island and Natural History Museum. On Yas Island, we're creating Harry Potter Park. We're also launched the expansion of Yas Water World. So Yas Island and Saadiyat Island, these are two complete different destinations. The definition of a destination is basically a district that includes multiple attractions, in some cases even a city. I mean, Yas Island today is a city. It has its own residential population living within the city. There's a civil defense, there's a police station, there's a mall, there are schools, there are so many facilities also within that wide destination. But Yas is considered or classified as an entertainment destination. So it encompasses everything to do with entertainment. It's positioned as an entertainment destination. Saadiyat Island is a culture destination, and it also includes a luxury beach resort, which has some of the best resorts, within the UAE. So it's a different themed destination. And what we do as a company is we can develop, we manage, and we operate themed types of destinations, whatever the theming that destination could be.
That's really interesting. So if we look now, once you have the component of hotels, you have that experience that now is being built in Saudi. We heard earlier Tony talking about how, as an airline, he will address the people of Shanghai, how he will address the people of New York, to bring them now here to New York. But if I zoom in a little bit, and I look at how easy it is to move from a city to another within our region, it's not easy, actually. It's very difficult, and the timing is not great as well if you look at the airlines. So my question is for you, actually, Andres, as the CEO of HyperLoop TT. So you would introduce yourself, tell us a little bit of HyperLoop as well, but how Speedray can really support the boom that we have in our region and really basically support the growth in terms of different destinations that we have within our GCC region and the Khalij region overall.
Yeah. Okay, well, first of all, thank you, Harvard Business School, for having me here, and thank you, Rim, for giving me the opportunity. I'm Andres de Leon, I'm the CEO of HyperLoop TT. I've been in HyperLoop TT for the last 10 years. Prior to that, I was managing industrial corporations around the world, basically in biomass, renewable energy, always very focused on sustainability. HyperLoop TT is the first company that was formed to develop the HyperLoop. We did it in a completely different way, using the crowd, using the power of the people and the collaboration. And talking a little bit more about that collaboration idea, I think that if you analyze why when the US people or the Chinese, they go to Europe, what do they like more? They like the seamless experience and the capacity to travel from one place to the other, in a very, very easy way. I think that being able to connect this region, if this region really wants to be one of the world tourist attraction or tourist destinies, and of course, from a cultural point of view, from a nature point of view, for a heritage point of view, you have everything that you need, Probably we are lacking a little bit of infrastructure, in the way that you can connect the cities. And if you think right now that you could be in Dubai today and then going to Riyadh and being in Riyadh in 1.5 hours and going from city center to city center, that with a really seamless experience. I heard what Tony was saying, and I really like this idea of, we call it the naked passenger, the possibility of having a completely seamless experience. I think that will increase drastically the opportunities and the possibilities, of becoming a worldwide major tourist destination. And we can bring that with HyperLoop, and we can bring it with a mode of transport that is sustainable, that from the point of view of operations is carbon neutral, and that could bring also a good financial viability model.
So if I go back as well to your words and the words from Tony, is how we have this seamless experience and how we can shift from a city to another. And to go back to the point of Abdulaziz, if you zoom in Abu Dhabi, I mean, Sadiyat is the cultural district with Guggenheim, the Louvre, and others. Yas is the entertainment part. You zoom a little bit up, you have Dubai Abu Dhabi, which brings two different experience. You zoom again up, Saudi UAE brings different experience. So I want to go back as well to the word of His Royal Highness, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Allah yahfadah, ويطول بعمره. He said, we are the new Europe. I think we are better than Europe, but I want to be a bit provocative here and ask you, Hala, I heard some words earlier, we are competing. I don't believe so, but what's your view on that? Are we really competing in this region with the different experiences? What is it?
A very interesting question, actually. See, again, here's my view, and I always relate it back to my work and experience in Europe and Asia. And technically, we're not looking at competing, and we shouldn't be competing. And I don't think what is being proposed is competitive. If anything, it is complementary. I mean, if we look at the stats a little bit, when I first arrived in Dubai, that was 2007, 2007 actually. And that's, since then, I've been also traveling to Saudi Arabia. The international travels to the Middle East was just under 5% of worldwide travel. And today it is roughly around 10%, which means it's doubled. I think with all that is being planned for this region, and specifically the GCC, this number is set to increase. And what this increase means that everyone will have a fair share. So if we look at Europe, and perhaps back to Andrea's point, it is about just enhancing the connectivity between the different countries and between the different cities, which becomes even more attractive to take a trip out here. So you arrive in Dubai and you might travel down to Oman for a totally different experience, come out to Saudi Arabia for a very different experience. And perhaps some experiences are similar, but there's the cultural element. So personally, I don't think there is competition. However, what is healthy, and that's quite actually to be applauded, is that we're always looking to better our offering, right? So perhaps the UAE has been really at the forefront of leading, and now there is just newer and better experiences across the entire region.
Abdulaziz, you want to add something to that?
I think, I mean, if, there was a very recent report published by Mastercard's Economic Institute. They said that if we combine the entire GCC region as one country, you know, the 56 million population within the GCC, which makes up, I think, 49 million of international tourists, you know, as of 2020, like the report is as of 2022. The GCC is going to be in the top 5 destination countries, you know, as a destination in terms of number of visitation. And it's going to be in the third highest in terms of inbound tourism spending. So in terms of visitation, the top visitation countries today includes France, which is almost 80 million international tourists, Spain, which has almost 72. This is as of 2022. Followed by the US, Turkey, and Italy, which is almost 51 million. In terms of spend, we will be just after the US and Spain. So GCC is going to be number 3, and then France is going to be number 4. So I think to Hala's point, we will need definitely to complement, you know, into the offerings. We did even multiple researches ourselves. We found out that more tourists would be interested to visit the UAE if we offer the UAE as a destination itinerary, rather than just coming to Abu Dhabi. And I think the same thing if we apply it, let's say in the Saudi context, for example, you know, flying only to Riyadh or only to Jeddah or only to Ula, but then when you market the whole destination, which I think big applaud as well to the Visit Saudi, the Messi campaign. I mean, guys, I mean, this was absolutely phenomenal, and I like the idea that it really addressed the negative perception, which we unfortunately, we have maybe, towards the region. So having this diversity of products between arts and culture, wellness, luxury, let's say staycation or luxury resorts offerings, mountain-based offerings, wadi-based offerings, or nature-based offerings, as a whole, family activities, sports, gaming, all of these different combination of offerings definitely is gonna make it more attractive for guests to consider the GCC as a place to spend not 3 nights but maybe even 3 weeks, holiday, at some point.
Yeah. And if you think about it, I mean, if we look at the example of Europe, Paris is 1 hour 40 from London. It's 1 hour from Brussels. It's less than 2 hours from Milan. So it's different destinations with different experiences. And this is what we are building now in the GCC, which is really interesting. So to the students that are in the room, there is plenty of opportunities coming your way in the hospitality management and tourism. So have a look. If you have any masters, just go ahead, because this is where we will need you in the next decade. So one will be to build and raise that new generation of professional. And second is also funding, because not everything can be supported by public sector, right? And I just want to go to one example. We have one Harvard case, which is actually about the crowdfunding that was done for HyperLoop. So if you can quickly touch upon that, Andres, and share that and how it was done and why it was done.
Yeah. Well, when we started with the idea to develop the Hyperloop, when we decided that we wanted to do it, we had a platform funded with the help of NASA and Girvan Institute to build companies in a completely different way, to build companies using crowdsourcing, people working in exchange of equity of the project. We thought that this was a great project, to test our model. We put it in the platform. We immediately had more than 200 people around the world that they wanted to collaborate. We knew from the beginning that we cannot do it alone. It was impossible, it was too much, okay? So we had 200 people, and long story short, today we have more than 800 people collaborating in exchange of equity of the project. We have more than 50 companies, big companies like Hitachi Rail, like Dark Group, that has been collaborating with us also in the exchange of equity. 55% of the company equity, is in the hands of the people that has been working and collaborating. And it's a completely different way of doing it. But the big advantage is not only that you reduce, of course, you reduce drastically the need of funding, okay? That, by the way, has been reduced again too, because since yesterday we have our first prototype, approved, and we have signed a contract for building a prototype in Italy.
Congratulations.
But, yeah, thank you very much. But, it's not only about that you reduce the need of funding, it's that also you reduce the time and the effort that you need to develop the technology, because you leverage in the expertise of the people, No matter how big is your project, how nice it is, how challenging it is, it's going to be difficult to attract talent, that has a lot of experience if you are a startup. But in this way, you have the passion, you have the experience of knowledgeable people and the seniority of people that is working with you, and also the young people that also wants to collaborate. So you put everything together, and it's a very, very efficient way of developing a complicated project like it was the HyperLoop.
So let us imagine, tomorrow I'm in a train station in Abu Dhabi. I want to come to visit my friends here in Riyadh. How long it will take?
Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, probably you are going to be talking about 1 hour, between 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, something like that, But the best advantage is the seamless experience, because you are going to have that going from city center. And that's the biggest advantage. If you think about Europe, one of the biggest advantages is that the high-speed rail. The problem with high-speed rail is that when you go to distance that are more than 600 kilometers, nobody wants to be more than 2 hours in a train, and everybody takes the plane. Okay? And Hyperloop solved that solution. But yeah, something like that. You could come here, spend the day, be with your friends,
have a nice
take
dinner in Dir'iyah, and then go back to the UAE.
You know,
that would be inshallah. Let's say inshallah.
similar that we do when I am living in Barcelona and I go to Madrid to see my mother and come back to Barcelona when I was living there, you know.
So I want to open the stage actually for a few questions before I give the last question to my panelists. So any questions regarding tourism in our region? Can we have a mic to Dr. Sarah? Otherwise, stand and raise your voice, Sarah. They will bring you a mic because people at in the back side of the room cannot hear you, Sarah. So they will give you the mic.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sara Khorakiwala. I came to Saudi Arabia, Dhahran, in 1981. 44 years down the road, I'm asking one question. When can we have a unified visa like the Benelux or
May I answer this one?
that we can actually visit all these places? Because that would make sense for me, whether it's Riyadh Air or Hyperloop.
Okay, so I'll answer that question. Actually, it's work in progress. It's on the way. So it's on the way. We want to transform this region like a Schengen region, where you go seamlessly from a country to another. So just be patient a little bit, Sarah. Inshallah, we will come together to enjoy Dar'iyah without showing passport, without showing anything, just our face.
But Reem, can I just add to this? I mean, clearly we're not decision makers here, but I'm actually very impressed with the last 2 to 3 years, the visa process to anywhere in the GCC. I mean, clearly to the UAE initially, but then even to Saudi. And I think this is where it's becoming even more competitive to Europe, that actually applying, and I don't know, again, I don't have the stats on me, but almost 100 nationalities can instantly get it online. Like I just realized my visa expired. In 3 minutes online, I renewed my visa and showed up at the airport. So I think although we're not there yet, I mean, I know where that question is coming from, but they've made it so easy to actually travel to this part of the world that clearly this is how we've seen such an increase in the number of visitation. So hopefully this is all in the process and will come in together.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any other question? I saw hand.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. Saleh Turki, Business Development Consultant. I would like, first of all, to thank Prince Noura University for doing this seminar or this forum, because very important. The subject mentioned here and discussed here is very important. My question is how we can balance between our culture and the tourism projects in Saudi Arabia. Now we are, going through a transformation. How can we balance and the local culture with what being done in tourism projects? Is it clear?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a shot first and then clearly open to others. But I think from my experience, it's all about just staying true to how authentic or how cultural this city. And this is when you asked earlier on about experiences and destinations. So what we've noticed with the traveler, and could be post-COVID, but it really started pre-COVID, is that the travelers are looking for authentic experiences. And at least the projects we have been involved in, which is plenty, whether public or private in KSA, the real focus is always around staying very local while ensuring that there is compliance to the international standards from a building standpoint. But, I mean, with tourism, clearly you are opening up, and it is cross-cultural, and it's a fine line, as you said, but I think it becomes even more important to maintain the culture, because this is really the KPI for KSA, is what they bring to the world.
You are right. Because also people coming to Saudi Arabia, they want to see the difference. They don't want to see something already they have it in their countries. So I think you agree with me that coming tourism project should keep the originality and as you said, what we have to show. We don't have to change. This is very important. People come to see the difference.
I would like, as a completely foreigner, I would like to say something about that. I come from Spain, and my grandmother was from Andalusia. We had 800 years, of Arabs in the peninsula, and we used to have a university when Europe still didn't have anything like that. One of the things that I loved today was when the person from Asir, the CEO of the Asir region, he was showing a video, and I was seeing a video with the typical Arab houses, and I remember the house of my grandmother that was with the patio in the center in Sevilla, that I fully agree with you, You don't need to be other big high skyscraper, things like that, or whatever. You don't need to be other New York. You need to engage your legacy, you need to engage your culture, your heritage, and show that to the world. That's what you really need to do to be different,
Yes, you are right. Also, I'd like to thank Harvard Club for sharing this with us, this big event. We thank Harvard Club for doing this. Thank you.
Abdulaziz, do you want to add on to the question?
I think it's a very interesting question. Today we have almost, the world peaked in 2019, just pre-COVID, at 1.42 billion, if I remember correctly, billion travelers around the world. So we had 1.4 billion people traveling in 2019. In 20, of course, because of COVID, this number slashed down to 400. In 2023, we had almost 1.3 billion people. So I think to both, to Hala and Andre's point, at the end of the day, it really depends on the national tourism strategy. It's going mass market tourism versus niche, tourism. It really all depends on who do you want to attract, as a segment. In our case, for example, at Miral, we're very much target market driven, so we know exactly who the customers are, the kind of consumers who would love to come and to enjoy, let's say, our destinations, at Yas or Saadiyat Island, with, of course, two different value propositions completely. And I would say we will value quality over quantity, so it's not just about the number of visitors coming to the destinations, but it's the type of people who would come to the place. And I think in Saudi Arabia, for example, I've been to Diriyah 2 days ago. I went to Tal al-Bujayri. Yesterday I was at Boulevard World, so the first time I witnessed it, with my own eyes. And I think what is happening really on ground is very impressive. I especially love, I would say, the Saudi folklore and the local culture. What's going to come up, hopefully, inshallah, soon, even in Al-Ula and in other places. The local content is really rich for many people, and it's going to attract many visitors who would want to come and just enjoy it. To summarize, my point is, you need to target specific guests based on what you want to offer eventually.
And to add on to that, if you heard earlier, Tony Douglas, who was with me on the stage, when I asked him, the first question was, what is Riyadh Air? He answered me, Riyadh, Riyadh, Riyadh. It's actually about being authentic, about sharing your culture, because this is the experience we've been talking about. People are coming to our region to experience. When we go to Oman, we want to experience the Omani ways of living. We want to experience the Omani culture, the Omani food. When we come to Saudi, to Diriyah, we want to experience the Riyadh culture. When we go to Jeddah, it's also a different culture there. It's different than Riyadh. So it's about how we keep our culture within those experiences, and that's what makes us unique. So I want to close the conversation by asking my amazing and fantastic panelists, what will be one takeaway, or if, as a Harvard Business School Club, GCC, we need to focus here in the region to help and support our public and private sector, what would be that thing in the hospitality management that we need to try to help them and support them with, or one takeaway? So Hala, I will start with ladies first.
I mean, I definitely think there's a lot of work to be done still. Clearly, there is more efforts between the public and private, and we're seeing that for sure. The one thing that I've learned is that operating in silos, and oftentimes that's the mistake, operating in silos is the biggest threat to the success. So if there is one thing I would stress on, is that the effort to collaborate versus duplicate or compete. And I think this is extremely important.
Thank you, Hala. Abdulaziz.
I think also to echo Hala's point, I mean, having this integrated destination management approach is very important. You know, as a company, as Miral, what we're good at, you know, our bread and butter is to create full-fledged destination creation capabilities. You know, everything from creating destination strategy to destination branding and visioning to do a full-fledged target segmentation and sales strategy, marketing strategies, place-making initiatives, transportation, concierge, development, of course, of standalone, let's say, individual experiences to complement, you know, the entire offering. One of the biggest challenges is actually being able to deal with multiple stakeholders to make sure that you stand true to your vision. So if you want, for example, Yas to become a global entertainment destination to attract X million of visitors to spend X number of days or nights within the destination, and to spend X millions per visitor on that destination, what do we need to do to make it all happen? And it's working with the government, startups, the hoteliers, the private sector across all of the domains, to make sure that this vision becomes realized eventually.
Thank you, Abdulaziz. Andres?
Well, for me, it would be two words, no? Regionalization, and connectivity. Making sure that we have a seamless experience and we connect all the regions. We have the different opportunities. Miral is amazing, in Just Island, but then you can go to Riyadh, you can go to, and that connectivity is from a physical infrastructure, but also from a digital infrastructure, the visa that we were talking and everything like that, no? To be sure that we create a region that is very well connected and easy to travel, so we will attract much more people that I'm sure that they want to spend 3 days, in Yas Island, and other 2 days in Riyadh, or whatever, and having different experience.
Thank you very much. Thank you to my dear, amazing panelists. Thank you for the conversation. Thanks.